Okay, Eva, the one thing people do that puts them at risk for ID theft.
Right now, the worst thing that people are doing consistently is reusing the same easy password over multiple accounts, and it really puts you at risk.
Okay, we're talking ID theft. Trying to avoid the problem. What happens if you have the problem? I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau, and this is Joe Knows Better. All right, Eva Velasquez, President and CEO of Identity Theft Resource Center in San Diego is here with us. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure to be here, Joe.
I say in San Diego, but you're nationwide, you're worldwide, you're an international organization.
We are. Anyone that has the misuse or concerns about a United States identity credential can contact us for help no matter where they are located.
That's what I want to get at. Okay, so it's idtheftcenter.org. And what do you do? What kinds of things do you want people to write or contact you or read information about how to avoid it? If they have a problem, what can you do for them? Let's start there.
Well, we do handle both ends of the spectrum. So we are primarily, the heart of our organization is a victim services organization. So we have free resources to anyone that's been a victim of an identity crime, cyber crime, scams and fraud, data breaches. So we're looking at compromises. And if you need that help, we can provide you with free direct one-on-one assistance through a variety of platforms. You can call us on our toll-free number. You can live chat with us on our website.
So can you say I had a credit card that was open in my name or something. Mm-hmm. So I could give you that information and you will help me go back to that company and say, hey, I've had a ID theft here. So
absolutely. We will give you a recovery plan, step-by-step recovery plan. Now, we don't do the work for you because we don't want to collect that data about you. Mm-hmm. You know, we practice what we preach, and we believe in data minimization and not oversharing. But if it doesn't matter what the issue is, if it's scams and fraud, if it's about your identity, and you can just call us and explain what you're experiencing, mm-hmm. we know what to call that. A lot of people don't know. Like,
so they can give you give the steps basically of what you can do to kind of get this thing taken care of.
Absolutely.
I had a recent issue where I knew something came to me. It said AT&T, an account had been opened or something. Mm-hmm. I knew it wasn't an account. I tried to call them. AT&T didn't care. It was really hard to get into their system and talk about a problem that I didn't have an account, so I couldn't really get in. And then I saw an iPhone was being sent to a Houston address in my name. It took months to try to get these people to be serious about this. And I thought in the meantime, this is going down. It's going to hurt my credit. So do you sometimes see that these companies don't take it maybe as seriously as some of the consumers do?
I think our experience is that no system is perfect. And so all of these organizations, the retailers, the tech companies, the platforms, they all have processes to resolve an identity issue or a verification issue. But we talk to the folks who have availed themselves of those processes often, and it has just broken down. Okay. So those processes have demonstrably failed for whatever reason. Now, the caveat to that is there are some industries that we feel do a less than spectacular job in actually really caring about the people using their services. Users. And I'm choosing my language very carefully there because there's one thing that's customers. For your bank, you're their customer. Mm-hmm. For your cell phone provider, you're their customer. Mm-hmm. But I kind of carve out a lot of platforms, social media platforms in particular. You are not their customer. You're their product.
True.
So that's a different
and
relationship.
Your information is what they're selling.
Right, your attention, your eyeballs. Mm-hmm. They want your eyeballs on ads. So the advertisers are their customers. You're not.
What are you seeing? I know this has probably changed over the years because you've been involved with this for a while, but what are you seeing now as the ways that ID theft is affecting people? How is it affecting people?
Gosh, this problem has grown exponentially. And so really big picture, looking at it from 50,000-foot view, the way that we use our identity credentials and the way that we engage in the outside world, particularly the online world, has just expanded. There's so much more of it. Now, if I get down and look at the emerging trend issues that we're seeing right now, a lot of it is around phishing. Job scams have been a big one. That one's particularly concerning. Government benefits, a lot of misuse of our credentials to obtain government benefits and to open bank accounts in our name when we don't know, as a way to launder that money, as mule accounts.
Let's go into the employment scam is big, and it's changed. It used to be that fake check that they send you, send a little bit of money to somebody else. Now it seems like they're getting people to open accounts, and they're paying people through their linked bank accounts, and they have to keep the account positive, and if it goes negative, then they have to put money in it. It's some weird. In other words, they're making it very complex now, it seems, and I think that's because people don't understand it. They fall for these things. Is that what you see happening? Are these things are they the same kinds of things? They're just becoming more complex and in different ways?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I know that's a terrible answer. What you just explained.
Well, that wasn't a good question. So,
well, no, what you just explained is something that we do see, and there certainly are these. They're fake employment. So you actually think you have a job, but you're engaged often in illegal activities. I mean, we're even seeing this with these large, well-heeled fraud organizations that are perpetrating scams. They are engaging in labor trafficking. So people in foreign countries think that they are applying for and working for a legitimate company, and they're not. They're actually perpetrating scams. What we're seeing more here, at least in our contact center, and we did publish a report on this. It's our Trends in Identity report, and we put this out to the public for free, has been more of fake job postings and fake recruitment communication, either by text or by email. So it appears to be a legitimate job that's available, and when people apply for that job or engage with on the platform or with the person who texted or emailed them, it's not a legitimate job. It's completely fictitious, and it's just designed to get you to provide all of this personally identifiable information.
and that's where the ID theft comes into it. There's
when they identity credentials involved in that transaction.
Okay,
yes.
So they have your bank account information, possibly your social security number,
driver's license number, account login, maybe a credit card. I mean, they will keep asking for that data until you say no. And then they ghost you.
I think it used to be where I thought ID theft was really only if I had a credit card open up my name and they found out about it. But it's just much broader than that. It affects just everything.
Well, I do think that's a common thing, that people automatically associate identity theft or misuse with the financial systems. It's all about money. And in the end, it is all about financial gain. But there's medical identity theft, where people use your information to get medical goods or services, durable medical equipment, prescription drugs. There's criminal identity theft, where someone provides your information during or after the commission of a crime. We talk to people who don't pass a background check for employment because it comes back saying you're actually serving a prison sentence in Kansas. And then, of course, there's the government identity theft, and that's filing false taxes. So it's the use of government institutions to, again, for financial gain, applying for benefits. And unemployment was a big story during the pandemic because we saw so much, billions and billions of fraud. So the best way to think about it is anywhere that you're going to use your identity credentials, your name, your date of birth, your social security number, a driver's license number, a passport number, things like that, anywhere that you're using that to prove that you are you, that information in the wrong hands and in an improperly managed system, someone else can use it to pretend to be you and get those same benefits or services.
That's what I was going to ask you. What can happen if they have that information? What can they do? What cases have you seen? Are there some extremes you've seen in the past where you probably had a lot of,
I mean,
probably run together.
How long do we have here? I mean, from the financial standpoint, every type of financial instrument that you could imagine: vehicle loans, mortgages, multiple mortgages.
Scammers taking it out in these people's names.
Yes.
And then they're responsible for that unless they can prove otherwise, I guess.
Right. And it's, of course, impacting their credit. And if they want to get their first home loan, and it's, now they've got this record that doesn't belong to them. The criminal cases, some of the more extreme ones that I've seen have been someone who, unbeknownst to them, has warrants out for their arrest. They did not commit this crime. Their identities were misused, but they commit a traffic violation or something relatively minor, but they end up getting bucketed. They're arrested and they go to jail, and the onus is on them to prove that, that was not me. Someone else gave you my information. And I think this was a number of years ago, but one of the ones that I just felt like had the most tentacles that I had ever seen was a medical identity theft case where this woman had someone misusing her information to get prescriptions, and they were narcotic prescriptions.
Oh, wow.
So not only was she dealing with that issue, she could not get proper medical care because those prescriptions were contraindicated. It was then forwarded to law enforcement, so now she's under investigation by law enforcement. That was then forwarded to Child Protective
Lord.
Services, and Child Protective Services came and took her children out of school because they felt that she was a danger to them.
I think you buried the lead there. Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
I
That's
was doing it
crazy.
in chronological order,
yeah,
but that is,
I thought, oh my gosh, and then came the children. I'm like, oh.
well, I do think that's where we don't consider this crime type as one that has really devastating effects. We can be a little bit dismissive about the impacts, and it's just not true. When I give you that example, that is just as traumatic for that victim as perhaps a violent crime would be. And I think it's hard for us to wrap our heads around that.
No, it's true, and I know that's true. And I know I've dealt with consumer issues for so long, and I always got down on enforcement sometimes for not taking them as seriously as a violent crime. But these things are. I mean, they can lead to horrible situations.
Life impacts.
Yeah, and some people, are very depressed after something like this, and I've seen people have taken their lives that I know about in some situations where the basically financial ruin from scammers.
I have a terrible statistic for you that I think is important to share, and this is from our most recent consumer impact report. 16% of the victims that we surveyed said they felt suicidal. 16%.
Yeah.
It's doubled in the last 2 years. And I think if there's one statistic that we can broadly share with people, it's that one that will disabuse you of thinking, oh, that's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
That's like, that's like getting your car vandalized. It's a nuisance, but we'll take care of it. You'll clear it up. It won't have any life, long-lasting impacts, and that's just not true.
And I was going to ask you about that because we talked about that website, Have I Been Pwned? I said pawned, but it's pwned. And and I saw that my email address, and you do this as well, but you have a database. My email address had been pwned 23 times. I think after a while, you get these little messages, and it looks like it happens all the time. And then you try to figure out, what can I do about it? Because I'm not sure where my information was available. I mean, there are so many of them. Where, if something happens to you, how do you attach it to one of them, or does that even matter?
It doesn't matter, and you can't with the state of data breaches. We at the ITRC have the largest repository of publicly reported data breaches in the U.S. We've been maintaining that since 2005. And it's more important than thinking how many times has my information been breached and where is it at. I just want everyone to understand that, look, you need to operate under the assumption that all of your information has already been compromised, because in all likelihood, it already has. Okay. We had a record year for data breaches last year.
In a bad way, yeah.
Yeah, for in a bad way for us as the credential holders. So it's really more about, what are the things that I can put into practice? What are the things that I can do to reduce my risk and my vulnerabilities with that mindset that, look, my information is out there. The big caveat there is I don't want people to think that means I'm saying ignore data breach notification letters. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. One of the really important pieces of information on those letters is very specifically what information, what data about you was compromised. Right. That's the key piece. It's not the number of people that were involved in the breach. That's largely, I mean, it's relevant to regulators, but that's largely irrelevant to the individual.
The news likes to, make a big deal about it.
This millions and millions of people.
100 million people or whatever.
Well, that breach of 1,000 people is going to have the same impact on that 1,000 people. So it is more about knowing and understanding what the credentials were that were compromised and having a risk minimization plan that addresses that particular data.
Let's talk first. Okay, I think we're at that point. Let's talk about some things that people should be doing now to protect their information. You talked about one that's the same password being used. I know there are password generators. I don't know if people know how they actually work, and I think they're a little scared of that sometimes because they don't know if they can access it, and is that even safe? Do you recommend that, and is that important? Take over.
More than password managers, which, look, we're agnostic about the different brands, and if it's a tool that's intuitive to you and you want to pay for it, go ahead if it works for you. We're more excited about passkeys and the adoption rates of passkeys.
Passkeys, go with what that is.
Now, the passkeys are managed. They're sort of like passwords, if I have to explain it in layman's terms, but they reside in the device. They're more like a token that resides in the device, and you can then log in, usually using a biometric, so your face or your fingerprint on your phone. You don't have to remember a password.
Okay.
It
remembers it for you.
Well, it's a single-use token.
I see.
So even if it was somehow compromised in transit.
Do you set that up?
Yes, it's an option, and for folks that want to learn more about exactly how do I start using passkeys, we have a primer on our website.
Okay, that's ID Theft
Center.org.
So that's a passkey is a good. If you don't want to go there, I heard even maybe doubling your password that you currently have and adding something might be better than what you've got and not using the same one each time.
I will tell people, look, if you need to, go ahead and go old school. Write them down. If you need to, you have so many passwords that you can't remember them. You're not ready to adopt passkeys, and password managers aren't intuitive. I would much rather that you have a physical piece of paper that you keep in a secure location in your home. I am not saying digitize this. Please don't put it on your computer or on the
Don't have it
notepad in your
saying
phone.
passwords?
No.
Okay.
But if you need to put it on a piece of paper and store that securely in your home, the likelihood of that getting compromised, yes, someone could break into your house. They could get a hold of that. That can happen. But that is far less risky than you using the same easy password, my dog's name, across all of your accounts. That creates exponentially more risk.
Okay.
So if you can't use a mnemonic device and you can't use some of those other tools, please write them down. At least you have a unique and long password, 12 characters or longer.
12 characters or longer. Okay, what's the next thing you should do? What's the next or the other important thing? I mean, is it not clicking on links and emails, texts, just ignoring those things, do you feel, or what's something more people should be doing?
That is absolutely one of them. I kind of separate it out into the actions that you can take that are concrete and ones that are more like a practice. So I always tell people, please freeze your credit. Freeze your credit, freeze your credit, freeze your kids' credit. It's free for you. It's free for your kids.
So you have an account with each of the credit bureaus.
The big three, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And yes,
you can manage a freeze. You can thaw it, offer loans or whatever. Yeah.
You can even set it to be thawed for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
The last time I needed to avail myself of credit, I just said, okay, thaw it from this date and this time.
Yeah.
And then you can put a date where it will automatically refreeze. You don't even have to go back in.
Okay. It
is not anywhere near as cumbersome as people think. And you can do it for your kids. And if you have a guardianship, you can do it for, an elderly parent or relative or someone else that you're taking care of. And in fact, we had one of our employees, when she first started working for us a couple of years ago, decided that for her birthday, she had everyone come over to her birthday party. She said, I don't want gifts. I want everybody to freeze their credit. And she walked them through how to freeze their credit, and that was their gift to her. Yeah. So any way you can get people to do that, I think it has the big bang for your buck.
Is it important to check annual credit report? I think now they're allowing them, weekly? The free credit reports used to be, 3 times a year or something for one each. Important to do that?
We certainly recommend that you check your credit regularly.
Not the score.
The score. It's not the same thing. There's going to be a delay in that. Your score can be this tail end indicator, but your credit score is not going to drop until any new accounts are in arrears, until they've gone into like debt collection. So it's going to be a very, very much a lagging indicator, and you want to find out as soon as those accounts are open. So we tell people regularly, whatever works best for you that you can stay on top of it. I don't want to tell people to check it weekly because then they'll just go, I'm not going to do it at all.
But it's at least free. But it used to be that way. But you could do it for
that one's. It's a free tool.
Sure.
And I definitely encourage people to use.
How about one last one? Anything else you can think of?
Multi-factor authentication on all of your online accounts. And that's that little toggle button where
that's the hassle that everybody's like, oh my gosh, where's my phone?
9 seconds. Let me tell you why you need to embrace the friction here. Is anytime it's super easy for you to get into your account with that same information, it's going to be super easy for someone else to do it. So multi-factor authentication, you have that code sent to either your phone or your email. I would tell people to send it to their phone. And that way, if your username and password are compromised, they still can't get in because they don't have that one-time use code.
Yeah.
The big caveat there is that a lot of the phishing tactics that are being used and the social engineering tactics are reaching out to people and asking for those codes, and they're using some legitimate reason. So you don't ever share that code with anyone. There's no legitimate reason to share that code outside of when you are actually trying to log into a platform.
Okay. What do you think about monitoring services, the cost? Whatever it might be sold online, where they monitor to make sure everything's cool and you're secure. Do you have any feeling about that one way or another? It's,
Yeah, we do. And let's make sure we're using the, common language, because there's credit monitoring, which is just what it sounds like. It is a service that monitors your credit. Newsflash, you can do that yourself by freezing your credit and reviewing your reports for free.
Okay.
Then there's identity protection and restoration services, which is a lot more than just credit. It does that, but they do a lot of public database scraping. Some of them do the dark web.
So there is a need.
Monitoring.
You could see a need for that, or if it's.
I can see how some people, if you have the disposable income and you would rather spend your time doing something else other than learning and monitoring these things, I can see the value.
Okay.
And we actually do have a statement on our website that kind of tells people, look, here's the things to consider if you are going to consider purchasing one of these services.
That's great. Okay.
We don't endorse any particular, sounds like I'm working at the BBB. We don't endorse any particular company, product, or service.
Check accredited businesses before you hire, right?
But we will give you information on how to do your homework and make that decision. But I do want people to know that if you don't have the disposable income to pay for one of those services, you are not out in the cold. There's plenty of free services like the ITRC, like the Federal Trade Commission, AARP has their Fraud Watch Network. There are a number of really good, reputable nonprofits and government agencies that can help with you learning how to manage these things and check on them, monitor them, and check to ensure that you haven't been victimized.
Okay.
So yes, some of these plans and services can do things that would be very, very time consuming for an individual to do, but I think it's a very personal decision. All
right, let's end with your organization then. And what if somebody does have a problem? So you basically are you're educational for people not to hopefully get into trouble in the first place, but also if people do have a problem. How far do you follow that up? Can you follow with the person for a period of time? Can they keep calling back and saying, but they're not, the credit card company isn't listening, or?
We don't leave you leave us.
Oh, okay.
So when you contact the ITRC, you are assigned a case manager who is your person that will stay with you until you feel your issue has been resolved, and you can come back. There's no limit to the number of times or issues that we'll help you with. So you can.
Is there a cost?
It is absolutely free to the public. We're funded by the Department of Justice Office of Victims of Crime, as well as foundation grants, donations, and corporate sponsorships.
Why do you do this?
Why do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my days in law enforcement, my job used to be to get the bad guy. So I investigated a lot of these cases, and I learned firsthand how few resources we actually had for victims and how much more they needed. And I couldn't give it to them. I had a caseload. I had to actually put a case together for prosecution. And when I realized that people needed more and we needed to put more effort there. When ITRC was looking for new leadership 12 years ago, I just felt like I need to make sure that this is available to the public and that we stop being so dismissive of this victim population. And so that's why I am very involved in making sure that this victim population has what it needs, because it's a big deal. It's harming a lot of people.
Well, and I'm glad you're there, because I know it's a big deal. I mean, it's hurting more and more people too. So Eva Velasquez, thank you for being here. President and CEO of Identity Theft Resource Center in San Diego. Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Before hiring, go to bbb.org, check reviews, and for accredited businesses that agree to operate ethically. And see all my podcasted videos, joeknowsbetter.bbbcommunity.org. I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau, helping businesses and consumers get it right.